Okay, Pops, you know what we're going to do today?
Well, first I'm going to do a pitch like yours for YA. No, first we're going to talk about.
We're going to do a little, almost role play, not role play, but a
Yeah.
little close to role play in the sense that we want to get an opportunity here to kind of run through what I know needs to get done when the service advisor says I've got something for the vehicle that should be done versus what things I can question. Like, I'm in that environment, I'm in that moment. Yanni, for example. Hey, Yanni, how you doing?
Hey,
You're the
guys.
service advisor. How do I actually know what needs to be done? What can be postponed when you come, out after doing a diagnostic assessment, things like that, right? Sound about right, Pops?
Yeah, but before we
Yeah,
get to
right,
that,
before
Yanni,
that.
I just need to say go to www.yourautoadvocate.com and buy stuff.
Perfect.
That's it. That's the pitch. Just buy. There's a bundle waiting for you.
Waiting for the bundle. Waiting for the
Yeah.
bundle.
Exactly.
So Yanni, how do we want to approach this in the sense that seriously, like if I went to the dealership right now and I went to the service desk and I had to get my normal maintenance done, but they said, oh, you might want to look at doing this, this, and this. How do I know what to do? How do I handle that?
So I think the number one thing is a lot of people need to start with is logging or tracking their service records. It's the most important thing you can do to maintain your car's value. It's the most important thing to also maintain your pocket cash. When you keep to the manufacturer recommendations that's given to you in an owner's manual when you buy a car new. Or if not, you can go online and research, what it calls for at 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 miles and continuing. Having that tracking system is going to be very important to truly judge and say, what do I need to have done now? What can I postpone for later from the routine maintenance side of things? But let's dig a little bit deeper. Let's go into, you came in with a few issues. We found a oil leak, we found a suspension issue, and we found a software update. Okay, we noticed that your software is 3 years out of date. So if the store, if the shop, if the dealership, is not keeping up with technology today and not utilizing inexpensive equipment like our phones, and can't show you what's wrong with your car, and even if they don't want to use their own personal devices. And, I think that everyone should ask, hey, can I go see what the issue is? Because not to say that people aren't honest and they're not, speaking true of an issue that you may have, but someone describing a seep over a leak, I think is somewhat relative to that eye. If something is moist or just stained by an oil leak that's coming from a seal, you can say to yourself, well, I guess I could monitor this and postpone that repair for a little bit further, okay? But if you have something that's coming to a drip, you came in saying that I've noticed spotting on my driveway, and they come in and they say, listen, here's your leak. I think it's fair and honest to say, listen, can you show it to me in some way, shape, or form? There's many situations where I walk clients down to their car, not just to get things out of it for them that they may need, but also if you're there, let me show you this issue and this issue and this issue. But if the dealerships or the garages are not using technology available to them today, if they're not at the dealership waiting for it to show them photos of their issue, to show them a video of what's going on, then I think they're doing a disservice to their clients, and they're not creating that relationship building skill that the manufacturers, the dealerships, the garages have gotten a bad name for over so many years.
I would think that that's one of the few good things about technology and some social media applications within that technology is that we now have the ability, whether it be, as you say, a mechanic uses his personal device, or perhaps the mechanic uses a store iPad, to actually walk around the vehicle, record and show where the leak is, or show the wear on the inner side of the tires that might indicate that there's an alignment needed. But to be able to actually record that and then either text it to the customer, or you could email it as a video to the customer so that they can make an honest-to-God determination as to whether or not they might want to move forward.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think we've used too many generic photos, in sending clients, reports saying, this is what's needed, and they're getting the same picture during 7 different visits of the lifespan of coming in for service, and it's the same picture, describing a bushing. But here you have a situation that we brought up out of the 3 topics, an oil leak, suspension issue, and software updates. Most manufacturers today with technology have found that they've found glitches in emission control systems, in getting better controls in between your cold starts over your warm starts to fuel and air mixtures. And, the service advisor or the salesperson at that local garage will say, listen, we should update your software to possibly prevent future issues with engine lights and stuff. So I think that you need to judge and say, listen, do I need to spend $200 now, or is it something I could spend $200 later? So something down that pipeline would be something that you could say to yourself, value to doing it now over doing it later.
But that's where I kind of want to push on both you guys, which is like, I appreciate and can empathize with the idea that, we have technology and we can take a photo or we can take a video. But for me, I still don't know. Like, if I'm not someone who can turn a wrench, which I'm thinking about myself and I'm thinking about my sister right now, because neither of us know what's going on underneath the hood. How do I feel comfortable saying, okay, yeah, I guess I'll just do it, versus no, I won't? Because I'll share with you, Yoni, personally, when I take my car in, when I used to have a car and I would take it in for service, I felt like I was going to the doctor, in the sense that if the doctor said I needed something, I said, okay, I guess I need something. And of course, even in that type of medical setting, you have to be your own advocate and you have to push. But I guess I'm looking, at both of you guys, like, what questions should I ask? Or what things are kind of like low-hanging fruit where, like, for example, my sister kept getting upsold or told she needs tires every time. Okay, maybe that's a perfect example. If every time you take your car in for service, they say you need tires, maybe you don't need tires. But what can I do to protect myself to really better understand what I can or should do, should postpone? Like, should I have a mechanic that's just someone on, Yanni, can I just call you every time that's around? Like, what should I do?
Absolutely. You can call me for sure. You can call me, Ray.
Maybe not, yeah.
His name's Donna, but we'll get that.
Oh, Donna. Sorry, that's right, Donna. No, so what you can do is really, talk to that service advisor and ask them, how severe is this leak? I mean, you will know in a photo or in a video, that you have a leak and it's coming to a drip. So, it's no different than looking at your plumbing. If you've got a water leak, you've got a water leak. If you don't have a water leak, you don't. But, ask them, how severe is this? Is this something that I can postpone because I'm in financial, constraints for 2 to 3 months? Or is it something that, can be postponed for longer? Just like, you just advocated to, when a physician makes a recommendation to you, ask questions. What can I do to, do it without maybe using medication? So ask the service advisor, can I postpone this?
Is it fair to seek, say, a second opinion?
That was going to be my question too. Is that like an appropriate course of action?
Yeah, no. So you're always welcome to get a second opinion, of course. You're just going to invest, of course, the extra time and the money into getting that second opinion, which may in the root of things just be the same exact answer. It just, may come from a different perspective of saying, well, this is something that, will continuously leak over an extended period of time. You'll have to continuously add fluid to that field. If we're talking about a leak here, if we're dealing with a suspension bushing, I think it's case by case. You have some people that are doing all highway driving. They live out in the country. They have easy roads, over people that live in the city that, they're continuously slamming into potholes. And no matter what you do, you're going to go ahead and have to replace that bushing, if not that time, but in a very short period of time after that again.
Well, let me ask you a silly question. And here's something that I see a lot in the comments, especially on the service videos that we've been doing with you. And that is, the service advisor comes and talks to people and says, oh my God, it's really time. You've got 40,000 miles on your car. We need to do a transmission flush or a brake fluid flush. How legitimate is that, or what is the real time frame for when you should be looking at replacing and flushing fluids?
So the legitimacy behind transmission fluid, it's going to be case by case. Some manufacturers have what's described as a long life fluid, and if that's the standard, regularly they say that it's good for up to 100,000 miles. But then you're finding yourself in a little sticky wicket and saying, okay, well, I waited until they said it was a long life fluid and at 100,000 miles I get it flushed out. But now you're going from having fresh young blood in the car into having this old, thick, sludgy fluid, and it can cause other issues. To be honest with you, if a car has never had a transmission fluid flush in over 100,000 miles, I wouldn't touch it. I would leave it alone. If it's running okay, there's no problems. I wouldn't touch that at all. Now, for the brake flush, it's a mineral oil, it's an absorbent fluid, and the manufacturer says, it should be changed every 2 years or every 3 years. I think you should keep to that standard and use the owner's manual, the manufacturer recommendation on that. You'll find that if a repair is being done to the brakes and they're going to recommend doing a brake flush also while they're there, very, very common, I think you need to cross-reference back to saying, well, when was my last brake flush done? Because if it was done 2 years ago, you still have a year's worth of time to not have to output that money. And I advocate to really keep the money in your pocket, even though you're trying to be proactive, but there's some things that are proactive and a little bit far-fetched in some situations.
Gotcha.
That was like a great nugget. And I think, and please comment down below if you want us to touch on maybe some more specific common repairs or maintenance things that come up at the at the service desk, so that Yoni, you can shed some light there, because I'm thinking it back to actually some of the experiences I had, and I wish I'd watched a video like this then. That would have been so insightful for me.
Well, before we go, I need to ask you one quick question. What do you consider to be the most common upsell from a service advisor to a service customer?
Fuel system service are very common. Tire maintenance is quite common, and I'm trying to think, fuel system service, tire maintenance, and oil change intervals actually. And upselling an oil change because you see that the oil level is low, it's a little bit dark. With the new viscosity of oils today, it could be dark within 1,000 miles. So knowing your service intervals is I keep on saying this, but that's the best way to keep track of things. The fuel system service, very specific manufacturers, I think it's something that should be done maybe every year or two, not something that needs to get done every service visit, it being every 5 months or 5,000 miles. Gas today is so clean in so many different ways. As long as you're getting top tier fuel, there's really not a strong need for that stuff.
How often should the cylinder heads be cleaned from carbon buildup?
Turbocharged engines, diesels, I think they require it quite often. When I say often, I think it's something that they may recommend every 40,000 miles. A naturally aspirated gasoline turbocharged engine, I think it's something that should be done based upon a symptom or an issue. Because you're dealing with not just a fuel system cleaning, you're dealing with actually decarbonizing the intake valves using like a material, crushed walnut shells or something of that sort. So that's kind of case by case.
Come on, they don't really put crushed walnut shells in an engine, do they?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you have to decarbonize, an intake valve, you use crushed walnut shells because it's a softer material that's hard enough to break up the carbon buildup but not damage the valves themselves or the metal composition.
So are you saying I could supplement my income if I save the walnut shells after I crack them open and I eat the walnuts out of them, and then I save them up for you guys to use when it's time to decarbonize the... maybe not, okay.
I think it'll be easier and healthier for you because, I thought there was a topic about doctor visits recently and, losing weight. You could just go see the squirrel next door and just take his and bring him in with you.
Got it. Okay.
Pop's asking the hard-hitting questions that we need to hear. I think there's definitely some more that we'll dive into down this topic path. Comment down below what you want to hear us do. Yanni, learned a lot from this episode. Thank you. Pops, been doing your best
Absolutely.
60 minutes impersonation.
Not really.
See you, Yanni. Thanks so much.
See you, Yanni.
All right, bye, Zach.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Ray.